Hello, I'm Jeff Byers, and welcome back. This is Module 2, and I'm your instructor for NE 258. So we're on in Part 2, where we're going to add textures and materials to the first room you did in Module 1. So we got 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3. One is building the BSPs, following the floor plan that I gave you, and then Part 2 is adding materials to the inside, interior, and exterior to all the pieces. So the first thing I'd like you to do is open up your scene, and if you see something that looks like this, basically you don't see your scene. It doesn't really open up like Maya does. So what you're going to do is, I showed you how to create your own folder. I showed you how to save your work. And I created my own folder by just right-clicking over here and just creating a new folder. And then I placed everything in there. So now I can open it up and just go ahead and double-click on it. And here's where I left off. Pretty cool. So I got lighting in there. Everything is built. Another thing that you probably want to do. Okay, I think we're just going to hide everything we don't want to see right now so we can move around in here and select things without accidentally selecting things and deleting them by mistake. So the number one thing under the World Outliner is we have a light source. We need to keep those in there. I've got 2 light sources, but I can get rid of the light mass, importance, post-processing volume, and the skylight. We can get rid of the atmospheric fog and the reflection sphere, and we want to keep all our brushes, and then we can get rid of or just hide our first person character and network player start and anything else we want to get rid of. Now it doesn't matter where. Now if you're worried about accidentally deleting your sky, you can just turn it off for now. I'm going to move my directional lights out of the way, okay, so I can easily select things I need. And I also do not need to show my lights, so I've got point lights in here too I can get rid of just until we get all the texturing done and the materials on there, because we're going to have to do a couple things. Even though we got all this done, what I noticed and should have thought about was the ground plane. I'm going to want to put grass material on here, and the problem is that that's going to go all the way through the house. So that's going to look really bizarre to have grass in the house, and we want this to look as realistic as possible. That's part of my grading, is how close can you get to a real floor, whether it be wood or marble or whatever you decide, or carpet. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to either have to lower the ground and then take the roof sections and duplicate those down. And I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to hold the Alt key. What I did was I clicked on one, Control clicked on the other. Okay, and then hold down the Alt key and then move those down. I'm not going to move them all the way down. I probably should. Let's go ahead and go to the side view. So the left side is Alt K, right? Alt K. So left side, Alt K. And let's see where we're at with this. So we want that just to be right on the ground plane. So let's move that down. And I'm going to bring this to 1, step snap to 1, get that really nicely, get it pretty close. And I can bring it down quite a ways. We just need it above the ground just a little bit. Just so it's a little bit above the ground. Okay? So I'm going to go back to perspective. And you can see that we have it just above the ground. Okay, So we want it to be placed within the walls, right? Just right at the edge of the wall. So we're going to have to make some adjustments from the top view of the wall there. Okay, with that selected, I can go into geometry mode up here, and we're going to go ahead and marquee select these guys and just move them in and just kind of get it just right in where the wall starts. You can have it go in a little bit more if you want to. And let's do this side over here too as well. Again, we just want it inside the wall just a little bit. And then we'll do this side as well too. Now we're not working on the ceiling, we're working on the floor. Let's get up pretty close. There we go. And then we got to work on, let's go to the perspective again, and that looks pretty good. Let's get on this side over here, and let's work on that from the top view. Make sure you have that selected, and I'm going to go ahead and marquee select that and move in and move it, whoops, do Control Z again and move that in. There we go. So it's just right in there within the wall. And we'll do the same thing with this part right here. And move it within the wall there. And then I'll marquee select this one. And do the same thing. Just trying to get that within the wall. There we go. That's too far. And then one more. Or can we? Can we do that? Because that will take it away. Go ahead and do one more. Bring that into the wall. That. Okay. Let's double check everything. Alright, so that's the top. This is the ground. And let's get in there. Okay. So looks like we have a gap here for this one, so I'm going to click on that floor, back to the top view, and I think we're okay. Just don't want any gaps there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and marquee select that and make sure they're against each other. And there's the wall. Okay. Go back to perspective view. Okay. Let's go ahead and select them both. Hold the control key. And go to the top and go to the top view. And it gets a little tricky here because you don't want to mess anything up that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the Alt key, or Control key, excuse me. Control Z back. I don't need to hold anything down, just marquee selected. Now you can just select this, and you'll notice that you just got to remember where this one goes. Okay, so this is the outer part. And let's go back over here, zoom out a little bit, and since that's the outer part, you want to deselect this one. Whoops. So I'm going to get rid of that. And so now we're just working with this one right here, and we can pull that back as close to this one as we can. And we're set at 1, and it's perfectly aligned now with that one. So that gets tricky when you're working with these. Okay, I'm going to go back into my perspective and make sure I didn't select the roof. So if you selected the roof accidentally, you're going to know it. And what I would suggest that you do is that this ground or the foundation is just above of just above the ground, and I put it within the wall a little bit so they're not fighting the texture, so that will work just fine. So that worked out real good without having to move the building around, which can cause all kinds of problems. So we should be able to see our ground texture and have a nice texture for the inside. Alright, so that works out really good. I would highly recommend that you save your work right now. I'm going to go ahead and pause. Go ahead and save your work. So go ahead and go to File, Save Current As. You can see that I've already got up to 7. I'm just going to do a save in a sequence. I'd highly recommend that in case you need to go back. And save often. Okay. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so we saved it, and for some reason it popped everything back up again. So I'm going to go ahead and turn everything back off because I am not done yet. And that's kind of a irritating thing. That when you save that, it pops everything back up again. Just makes no sense. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Skydome too. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we should select everything, and we're going to align the textures just like when we go in and lay out UVs. Right now the UVs aren't matching, and so we want everything to match properly. And to do that, we want to select everything, not do one at a time. So we're going to go to the top view, zoom out, and let's just select everything. And let's go to the perspective and make sure it's all selected. And then what I want you to do is go to, you can go to selection, and this also works really well. So I could click on this and go to select all matching material, and that will give me what I want. And then from here you want to align all the surface UVs on the BSPs as align surface planar. So align surface planar, that will align everything up perfectly. So the top will align, you can see how the top is aligned inside and out perfectly. Okay, and any doorways you see in here are lined up perfectly too as well. Okay, so that really is nice. It lines everything up. You can see that the floor is lining up with the walls even, which is really hard to do in a package like Maya, but everything's lining up perfectly. Okay, so that's how you line up your textures properly, so your textures look nice when you put them on there, or your materials look nice when you put them on there. So what I want you guys to do is save your work, and we're going to come back to this, and we need to think about the materials. I want you to write down, we talked about doing lists in pre-production. I want you to write down the type of materials you would like to see. So if you'd like a wood floor or a marble floor, I want you to write that down. What will the walls be? Will they be a painted flat wall? Will you have wallpaper? Your ceiling is going to be textured ceiling. Most likely it probably will be. And think about the materials, and I want you to write your material list down and then come back and watch the next videos. So we got everything lined up, so we're good to go. And the next thing is we need to start thinking about materials. What kind of materials are we going to place on here, and a list of exactly how you're going to add the materials. And because I don't want just this to be something you just throw together, I want you to not only experiment, but I want you to have a list and get an idea of how you're going to add the materials, how it's going to look. Alright, so we'll see you in the next video where we're actually going to start finding those materials and then applying those materials. I'll see you in the next video.